What's going on, dudes and dude Ed? So Cooper Flag before the tournament, I forgot to mention that yes, he was named a consensus All-American pretty much by all those outlets out there. When it comes to Duke, they have the most All-America selections since 2000 with 34. 29 is the next with Kansas. And when it comes to consensus first team All-American selections, Duke has had 17 players selected since 1990, or at least 17 times, because a couple players like Jay Williams and JJ Redick had it a couple years back to back. But when it comes to some of the other awards he was gaining recently was Oscar Robertson. He won that trophy and also won the Wayman Tisdale award, which I don't even know exactly what those are. But when it comes to the basketball side, and they're both sides going to March Madness, the men's and the women's, they are the only school in the country to advance to the Sweet 16 in both the men's and women's tournaments, which is pretty awesome. I think with the men, they have like 28 Sweet 16 appearances since 1985, which is pretty crazy. Obviously, three more ahead of their rival North Carolina. When it comes to like other schools, there's like 22 that are two schools tied for that most. But either way, Duke is still on top, and they got their next opponent, the men do, against Arizona, who they obviously defeated earlier on this season on the road at Arizona. So hopefully that gives them enough confidence, especially with Cooper Flag back, to be able to get another victory and advance to the Elite Eight. I know a couple players like Ngangba, a couple other guys weren't really guys in the rotation at that moment, but luckily they are now, and hopefully it is good fortune, as I said, for them moving forward. And when the women, yes, their next opponent in the Sweet 16 is against their rival North Carolina. So I want to say that's the first time they played against each other in the tournament, which is pretty crazy, but I could be wrong. But either way, it's going to be starting like Friday and Thursday, all that stuff. So hopefully both my teams will be advancing into the next couple of days to keep advancing to the next round of the March Madness tournament. When it comes to the Chargers, they made a couple of signings. They signed a tight end finally, and Tyler Conklin to, like, I think, a one-year deal, and then they agreed to terms with Honey Jefferson, and now a safety who's returning to the team who they had signed last off-season. So, yeah, I don't know exactly his deal either, but either way, a lot of good players coming back and that they're adding to this team. I don't think because they added Conklin that they're not going to draft a tight end anymore. I think they still should and all that good stuff. So hopefully that is the case once the draft rolls around within a month. We're only a month away. I think it's April 24th. So looking forward to that. And the Lakers' lone victory recently came against the Denver Nuggets, surprisingly 120-108. Luka had 31 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists. Austin Reeves had 22 points, 5 rebounds, and 8 assists. And I believe at some point during that game, or pretty recently, Bronny James has now 6 career three-pointers made, which is still more than Ben Simmons, who's been in the league for quite a bit. So that was kind of a crazy stat. But then Bronny also stepped up with the South Bay Lakers and had a new career high with 39 points, and also threw in 7 rebounds while shooting 67% from the field. So, yes, it is a little bit of nepotism because of why and how he got drafted by the Lakers because of LeBron, but he is still working his way onto the roster. It's not like he's just been given a free spot to come in and play during the whole entire season. He still has to earn his keep, and he's playing well against the lower level guys, so hopefully he can continue to get better once it comes to regular NBA play. And the other day, the Duke football team did have their pro day. A lot of great guys out there like Cameron Bergeron, Kennedy Charles, Alex Howard, Jordan Moore, the wide receiver, Ozzie Nicholas, the linebacker, Eli Panko, the wide receiver, Jalen Stinson, defensive back. So, yeah, and a lot of the NFL teams were there too the other day, so that was awesome to see, and hopefully a lot more guys get drafted than what is projected as of right now. When it comes to Duke football recruiting, there was a player, I think his name is Jaden Terry. I believe he is a 4-star cornerback, and he recently said that Duke offered him, so that was good to see. And then a 3-star safety, Devarius Surratt, released a top 8 schools, and Duke is in there, and also like a lot of other North Carolina schools. I think he has basically all 3 or 4 of the other ones too, so he must be a local guy. But hopefully Duke ends up winning that recruiting battle. When it comes to other players that the Chargers have at least spoken to or shown a lot of interest in when it comes to the NFL draft, they did apparently meet and have a formal interview with the Boston College edge rusher Donovan Ezeraku. So he's going to be most likely a first-round pick. And then the Stanford linebacker Gathan Bernadol looks like he met with the Chargers, and then the BYU cornerback Marquet Collins met with the Chargers at his Big 12 Pro Day. So we'll see if any of those guys get drafted. And then over the weekend, the Duke men's baseball team did have a series upset against the number 23 Virginia team, winning all 3 games. First game, they won 9-5, 13-2 the second, and 13-6 the next one. So congrats to those guys. And then when it comes to the men's field athlete player of the year on the track and field side of the Southeast region, Simon Gutersum did win because obviously he was a national champion in his sport. So congrats to him. And then there were a couple players who were added through high school. Abby Hossman was a cross-country long distance, if I'm not mistaken, and also Luca Folkers was also on the distance side as well. So congrats to those guys. And then an All-American honorable mention for Dayal Singh on the men's fencing, and also on the women's fencing. Rachel Koo was named an All-American second teamer as well. So yeah, congrats to all those different sports and athletes. They're definitely cleaning up here and there, so hopefully have some more stuff to talk about, especially when it comes to my teams advancing on both the men and women's side this weekend coming up in the March Madness tournament. I got a couple more things to add towards the end of this video. So they keep bringing up a bunch of stuff, a bunch of different graphics the Duke men's basketball team is putting up on social media about Cooper Flagg winning these certain awards and Player of the Year awards and accolades and all that stuff. And I guess it's now become kind of official because some of the other stuff that I did put up was from either like the ACC channel or something else. So this is more official. I don't think this is the main Naismith Player of the Year, but if I'm wrong, then now I'm just kind of like covering myself here. But if not, then I will also put that out there when it does become official if he is the Naismith Player of the Year, which is what I thought was the more important and bigger award to win. But yes, they officially put up that he was the National Player of the Year when it comes to the Oscar Robertson Trophy. And then Duke has had the most freshman consensus All-Americans since 2014 with 8 players, and the next 2 teams, Kentucky and Gonzaga, only have 2 apiece. And then freshman National Player of the Year is this the 4th freshman to be named the National Player of the Year all-time, joining Zion Williamson, who recently did it for Duke, but in past history it was also Anthony Davis and Kevin Durant, so he's in some pretty nice company. And then the Gatorade Player of the Year, that National Gatorade Player of the Year, was recently out, and Cameron Boozer, the incoming freshman for Duke next season, won that. I don't know if this was his second time winning it. He won it as a sophomore, which is pretty insane. But a couple other past winners from Duke: Cooper Flagg, obviously, Jason Tatum, RJ Barrett, and Jabari Parker too. So yeah, as long as he still sticks with this commitment, because like I said, now that Jay Lucas is the new head coach out there who's probably recruiting him and his twin brother to come to Duke, maybe he kind of tells him to stick home in Miami. Hopefully that does not end up happening, because I think they already signed their stuff and all that, because when it comes to basketball, they kind of signed like 6 months to a year prior, which is kind of weird compared to football players. But either way, hoping for the best case scenario there. And the Lakers got a big time victory finally on the road against Indiana, winning 120-119, and LeBron had a game winner tip in with like 0.3 seconds left, which is pretty insane. And Luka had 34 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. Austin Reeves also had 24 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists. And yeah, even LeBron was like the 4th highest scored player with like only 13, but I guess he's still working his way back from injury. And yeah, that's what I call a true game winner, because if a guy hits a shot and the clock runs out and the game was still tied, then yes, it is technically a game-winning shot, but if he misses it, then the game just still goes into overtime. So I think those don't really count as game winners in my opinion, but this one was a true game winner. Luka had a nice layup attempt, he missed it, and then LeBron just tipped it in, and luckily by the time the ball came out of the net, the clocks went 0. So yeah, they barely got that victory. And I think today, as you're watching this on Thursday, they play against Chicago, who gave them a beating back in LA last week. So hopefully they can return the favor on the road and get a nice 2-game win streak going as of right now. Then when it came to the Duke, when it comes to Paolo Banchero, who's in the NBA right now with the Magic, he's become the first Magic player since Dwight Howard in 2011 to have 30-plus points in 4 straight games. I think even an ex-Laker too, Shaquille O'Neal, did that, and Tracy McGrady too. They're the only players to have 30-plus points in at least 4 consecutive games. So yeah, congrats to him. And then The Duke softball team did have a nice midweek win against Eastern Carolina, 11-0. And the men's baseball team of Duke played against East Carolina too and got that victory 6-4. So yeah, I was kind of surprised that they were playing both sides, but I guess Eastern Carolina kind of scheduled this so it's a little bit cheaper for them to have just a bunch of sports go at one time instead of, multiple trips and all that stuff. So I guess they're saving a little bit of money playing and losing against Duke, but either way, it's a nice victory for both of those sports. And then the women's tennis team was ranked number 9 in the country, so I thought that was pretty interesting, especially who they beat pretty recently. So I went back a little bit to see the more final scores of the recent win streak, and they had beat Syracuse 4-1 to start way back then, and then they beat Georgia Tech 4-3. They beat Clemson 4-0. They beat San Diego State 4-0. They beat Yale 7-0. Ended up beating a rival, NC State, 4-3. Then they beat another rival in Wake Forest 4-0. And then the game that caught my eye today was them defeating their rival, North Carolina, 4-2. So I kind of saw that. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think I've updated on some of the stuff pretty recently, because it hasn't really popped up on their main Duke Athletics page. And so you kind of have to go and search and all that stuff for some of these sports. So luckily I was able to catch up to the last liked events, and that was like a couple weeks back, which is pretty crazy, but they've been on a nice tear and they definitely deserve this top 9 ranking in the country, and hopefully they could do some damage later in the playoffs or whatever after season championships there is. So yeah, I think I already ended the video, so hopefully that's the case. Thanks for watching, people. Like and subscribe, comment down below, let me know what y'all think. Have a great rest of your day. Bye. Let's go Duke.